My fingers trembled as I folded the lavender-scented towel. In the back room of my yoga studio, bathed in the golden light of Miami's late afternoon sun, I stared at my phone screen. The message glowed back at me, innocent yet devastating. "Tuesday night at 8. Same place. I missed you, baby." The text had come from Paul's number, but it wasn't meant for me. I knew that immediately, the way you know when you hear a wrong note in a familiar song. Paul hadn't called me baby in years, maybe a decade. And what was same place? We didn't have a same place anymore. We had routines, schedules, obligations, but no secret meeting spots. My hands were ice cold despite the humid heat. The phone felt heavy, like it was made of lead rather than glass and metal. I read the message 3 more times, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less catastrophic. They didn't. I'm Elia Martinez. I'm 40 years old. I've been married to Paul Harrington for 21 years. We met when I was 19, fresh out of California, following a friend to Miami for an adventure that was supposed to last a summer. Paul had been 24, working construction, ambitious and charming with that easy confidence that young men mistake for maturity. I got pregnant 4 months into dating. Maya. We got married in a courthouse ceremony with my best friend Simone as the only witness. It wasn't romantic or traditional, but it felt right. We were young and in love, and convinced we could build something beautiful together. And we had, hadn't we? 16 years later, Lucas was born. 2 children, 2 careers, a house with a mortgage in a decent neighborhood. I opened my yoga studio 5 years ago, then added the organic cafe next door 3 years after that. Small businesses, but mine. Paul had climbed the corporate ladder at Harrington Construction. No relation to him despite the coincidental name. He's now a senior project manager, overseeing multi-million-dollar developments across Florida. We weren't passionate anymore. I could admit that. Sex maybe once a month, and even then it felt choreographed, obligatory. But we were partners, co-parents. We worked together like a well-oiled machine, didn't we? The lavender smell was making me nauseous now. I dropped the towel and sank into a chair, still staring at the phone. Same place. Where? Who? And how long had this been going on? I locked up the studio at 6:30. Usually I'd linger, chatting with the last few students, wiping down mats, checking inventory. But tonight I needed to get home. Needed to see Paul's face when he walked through the door. Needed to search for clues I'd been too trusting, or too tired, to notice before. Miami traffic crawled. I sat in my aging Honda Civic, the one Paul kept saying we should replace, but I'd grown attached to, and watched the sun sink into the horizon. My mind churned through possibilities. A work colleague, an old girlfriend, a woman he'd met at a bar. Did people still meet at bars? Or was it all apps now? God, when had I become so out of touch? Maya and Lucas were already home when I pulled into the driveway. I could hear music pulsing from Maya's room, the rapid-fire sound effects of whatever video game Lucas was playing. Normal. Everything was normal. I made dinner on autopilot. Chicken, rice, roasted vegetables. Healthy, balanced, boring. The kind of meal a good mother makes on a Tuesday night. I chopped tomatoes and wondered if Paul had ever brought this other woman to our home. If he'd kissed her in the kitchen where I now stood. If he'd said, "I love you" to her in the bedroom we'd shared for 2 decades. My knife slipped. I watched blood well from my thumb, bright red against the cutting board. The pain felt distant, like it was happening to someone else. "Mom?" You okay?" Lucas was in the doorway, gangly and concerned. "Fine, honey. Just clumsy." I ran my thumb under cold water, wrapped it in a paper towel. "Dinner's almost ready. Can you set the table?" Paul arrived at 7:15. His tie was loosened, his shirt slightly wrinkled. He looked tired. He always looked tired lately. "Hey," he said, kissing my forehead automatically. The kiss landed exactly where it always did, a practice gesture that meant nothing. "Smells good." "It's just chicken." "Still, smells good." He grabbed a beer from the fridge. "Where are the kids?" "Lucas is setting the table. Maya's in her room. The usual." "The usual." He nodded, taking a long drink. "Yeah." We ate together, the four of us, at the kitchen table like we did most nights Paul was home. He talked about work, a problem with contractors, delayed permits, the usual headaches. Maya complained about her English teacher. Lucas said almost nothing, just shoveled food into his mouth with the single-minded focus of a 13-year-old boy. I smiled and nodded and contributed nothing of substance. I watched Paul. Really watched him. Was he different? Did he seem guilty? Nervous? He seemed exactly the same, which somehow made it worse. After dinner, Paul went to the living room to watch TV. Maya retreated to her room. Lucas grabbed his phone and disappeared. The house settled into its familiar evening rhythm. I cleaned the kitchen, loading the dishwasher with careful precision, wiping down counters that were already clean. When I couldn't stall any longer, I went upstairs. Paul was asleep on the couch, an ESPN talking head droning in the background. His phone was on the coffee table, screen dark. I stood in the doorway, watching him sleep. He snored slightly, his mouth open, one arm thrown over his head. He looked vulnerable, young, almost, like the man I'd married. I wanted to wake him up and scream at him. I wanted to cry. I wanted to smash his phone against the wall. Instead, I went to our bedroom and closed the door. That night I lay in bed next to my husband, because he'd woken up around 11 and climbed into bed beside me, and stared at the ceiling. Paul's breathing was deep and even, peaceful. The breathing of someone with a clear conscience, or no conscience at all. I thought about the message. Tuesday night at 8, same place. Today was Sunday. That gave me 2 days. 2 days to decide. Did I confront him now, or did I gather evidence first? Every fiber of my being wanted to shake him awake and demand answers. But I'd built 2 successful businesses from nothing. I understood strategy. I understood leverage. And I understood that the person who knows more always has the power. So I would wait. I would watch. And on Tuesday night, I would find out exactly what same place meant. Monday morning, I dropped the kids at school, then drove to my cafe instead of the yoga studio. Simone was already there, setting up for the breakfast rush. "You look terrible," Simone said bluntly. She'd never been one for sugarcoating. "What happened?" I almost didn't tell her. The words felt too big, too real. Once I said them out loud, they'd be true. But this was Simone, my best friend for 15 years, the sister I'd never had. "I think Paul's having an affair." Simone's hand stilled on the espresso machine. "What? Why?" I showed her the message. Her face darkened as she read it. "That son of a bitch. I don't know for sure. It could be innocent. Elia, come on. Same place? I missed you, baby. Nothing about that is innocent." Simone set down the coffee cup she'd been holding with exaggerated care. "What are you going to do?" "Tomorrow night. I'm going to follow him." "Do you want me to come with you?" "No. I need to do this alone." My voice was steadier than I felt. But can you watch Maya and Lucas if I need to stay out late? Of course. Anything you need. Simone reached across the counter and grabbed my hand. And Elia, whatever happens, you're going to be okay. You know that, right? I wanted to believe her. I nodded, even though I felt like I was falling apart inside. Monday passed in a blur. I taught 3 yoga classes, working bodies through poses while my own mind churned. Downward dog, warrior pose, child's pose. Breathe in, breathe out, focus on the present moment. But the present moment kept slipping through my fingers, replaced by images I couldn't stop imagining. Paul with another woman. Paul lying to my face. Paul destroying everything we'd built. That night, I pretended everything was normal. Dinner, TV, bed. Paul reached for me in the darkness, his hand sliding across my hip in that familiar way that meant he wanted sex. I couldn't. I just couldn't. Not tonight, I whispered. I'm exhausted. Okay. He rolled over disappointed but not upset. Within minutes, he was asleep. I lay awake until 3 a.m., planning. Tuesday arrived with agonizing slowness. I went through the motions. Coffee, kids to school, yoga classes, lunch at the cafe. I texted Paul around noon. Working late tonight, don't wait up. His response came 30 minutes later. Okay, I might be late too. Meeting with contractors. The lie was so smooth, so practiced. How many times had he done this? At 6 p.m., I left the cafe and drove to Paul's office building downtown. I parked 3 blocks away, found a spot with a clear view of the parking garage exit. And I waited. Paul's car, a silver Lexus, the midlife crisis mobile he'd bought 2 years ago, emerged at 7:23 p.m. I pulled out behind him, keeping several cars between us. I'd never followed anyone before. My heart hammered against my ribs. Paul didn't head toward home. He drove south, into Coconut Grove, parking on a tree-lined street near a row of upscale restaurants. I parked a block away and watched as he got out, checked his phone, straightened his tie. Then a woman appeared. She was tall, blonde, younger than me by at least a decade. She wore a sleek black dress and heels that made her legs look impossibly long. She smiled when she saw Paul. Not a friendly smile, an intimate smile. Paul kissed her. On the mouth, his hand on the small of her back, pulling her close. My world tilted sideways. They walked into a restaurant together, an expensive Italian place I'd never been to. Through the window, I watched them sit at a corner table. Candles, wine. The woman laughed at something Paul said, reaching across to touch his hand. I sat in my car, shaking. I took out my phone with numb fingers and started taking photos. Paul and the woman through the window. Paul's car in the parking spot. The restaurant sign. Evidence. I needed evidence. After 20 minutes, I drove home. I couldn't watch anymore. Couldn't sit there knowing my husband was having a romantic dinner with another woman while I waited outside like a stalker. At home, the house was quiet. Maya and Lucas were at Simone's. I walked through the empty rooms, touching things. The couch where we'd watched movies. The table where we'd eaten breakfast for years. The photos on the walls showing a happy family that apparently didn't exist. In the bedroom, I opened Paul's nightstand drawer, his phone charger, old receipts, a book he'd been reading for months. Nothing unusual. Then I saw his laptop on the desk. It was open, password field showing. I'd never snooped before. I'd never felt the need to. But everything was different now. I tried his birthday. Wrong. Maya's birthday. Wrong. Lucas's birthday. Our anniversary. Wrong. Then, on impulse, I tried Lucas's birthday again, but the year he was born, 2012. The laptop unlocked. My hand shook as I opened his email. His personal Gmail, not his work account. And there it was. An entire folder labeled J. I clicked. Hundreds of emails, going back 6 months. My vision blurred. 6 months. 6 months. I scrolled through them, reading fragments. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. Same hotel Friday? I told Darren I'm working late. I love the way you make me feel, like I'm 25 again. Dallas was perfect. When can we do it again? Darren. The woman had a husband named Darren. My stomach heaved. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. When I could breathe again, I went back to the laptop. I needed to know everything. Needed to see the full scope of the betrayal. I found attachments. Photos. The blonde woman, Jay, in various states of undress. Paul in hotel rooms. The two of them together, smiling. Happy. In love. In love. Paul was in love with someone else. I took screenshots of everything. Email chains, photos, all of it. Then I cleared the search history, closed the laptop and put it exactly where I'd found it. Then I sat on the bedroom floor and let myself fall apart. I cried until there were no tears left. Until my body ached. Until the sky outside started to lighten with pre-dawn gray. At 5 a.m., I stood up. Washed my face, made coffee, put on my yoga clothes. By the time Paul came home at 6:30, smelling like wine and perfume. I was sitting at the kitchen table, outwardly calm. "Hey," he said, guilty and trying to hide it. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep." I looked at him. Really looked. "How was your meeting with contractors?" "Oh, yeah. Long, boring. You know how it is." "I do." I stood up. "I'm going to the studio. See you tonight." I kissed his cheek, a practice gesture that meant nothing, and walked out. In my car, I pulled out my phone and Googled Private Investigator, Miami, because Paul thought he'd gotten away with it. But I wasn't going to be the kind of woman who pretended not to know. I was going to be the kind of woman who gathered evidence, made a plan, and destroyed the man who destroyed me. Starting today, the private investigator's office was more ordinary than I'd expected. On the 3rd floor of a small building, only R. Morales, Private Investigation, was written on the door. When I entered, a middle-aged man with gray hair and a serious face greeted me. "Mrs. Martinez, please come in. I'm Ricardo Morales." I sat down, placing my hands on my knees to stop them from shaking. Ricardo sat across from me, pulled out a notebook. "I'm listening. What kind of problem are you facing?" I took a deep breath. "I think my husband is cheating on me." Ricardo nodded. There was no surprise on his face, as if he heard this every day. I supposed he did. "What kind of evidence do you have?" I took out my phone, showed him the message, showed him the restaurant photo I'd taken through the window, told him about the emails from Jay. Ricardo took notes. "Do you know Jay's full name?" "No, just Jay. It's not saved with a full name in Paul's phone." "Understood. What is your husband's workplace?" "Harrington Construction. He's a senior project manager." "Are business trips frequent?" "Yes, at least twice a month." My voice cracked slightly. I thought they were real. I thought he was actually working. "I understand." Ricardo's tone was kind but professional. "Now I'll present you with a plan. I'll follow Paul, take photographs, find out who Jay is. If there's a hotel meeting, that will also be on record. I'll present all the evidence to you. In return, I provide a professional service. My daily rate is $500 plus expenses." I swallowed hard. It was expensive, but I needed answers. I needed proof. "Okay, start. One more thing, Mrs. Martinez. During this process, you'll experience emotionally difficult moments. Images may hurt you. Be prepared. I nodded, trying to look stronger than I felt. My heart is already broken. It can't get worse. Ricardo gave a sad smile. I hope you're right. The following days were torture. I continued my routine life, but my insides were filled with anxiety. Ricardo sent reports every day. Paul went to the office in the morning, sometimes met Jay for lunch at a cafe or restaurant, came home in the evening. To find Jay's full name, Ricardo conducted research at Paul's office. Through some clever questioning of Paul's secretary, he learned that Jay's name was Jessica Romano. She worked as marketing director at Paul's office. When Ricardo told me her name, I felt physically sick. Jessica Romano, working in the same office as Paul. They worked together every day. I'd never seen her because Paul rarely invited me to office parties. "Too boring, you stay with the kids," he would say. Now I understood why. A week later, Ricardo came to my cafe with more evidence. I met him in the back office where Simone couldn't see my face when I looked at the photos. Photos showing Paul and Jessica entering a luxury hotel near a marina one Saturday afternoon. My Saturday, when I'd been home doing laundry and helping Lucas with his homework. They'd exited 3 hours later. I stared at the photos. Paul was smiling in a way he hadn't smiled at me in years. Jessica was hugging him, her body pressed against his. My stomach churned. "Do you want to see more?" Ricardo asked gently. "No, that's enough. Enough now." I couldn't look anymore. Ricardo nodded. "One more thing. Jessica Romano is married. Her husband's name is Darren Romano, real estate agent. They have 2 children, 8 and 10 years old." I was shocked into silence. Jessica was married too. 2 families, 4 children. 2 complete betrayals. How could they do this? How could they look at their spouses, their children, and lie every single day? "Thank you, Ricardo. Can I get your report in writing?" "Of course. I'll email it to you tomorrow. All photos, dates, times, locations. It can be used in court." When I left the meeting, I sat in my car for 20 minutes before I could drive. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. That night, after Maya and Lucas were asleep, I sat in my living room alone. The children weren't home yet. Paul was supposedly at work. The house was silent except for my own breathing. 21 years. 2 children. A house, a life. And it was all based on lies. I had to make a decision. Would I tell Paul now? Would I file for divorce? Or would I somehow try to forgive? I didn't even consider the third option. Forgiving wasn't possible, because this wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal that lasted for months, planned, systematic. Paul came home every day, told me, "I love you," played with the children, and then called Jessica. I needed to hire a lawyer. Simone had recommended a family law attorney, Laura Bennett. I made an appointment for the next day. Laura Bennett's office was elegant and professional. She was in her 50s, sharp-minded with the kind of confidence that came from winning a lot of cases. "Mrs. Martinez, tell me about your situation." I told her everything. She listened carefully, took notes, occasionally nodding. "Your evidence is very strong. Photos, messages, detective report. In Florida, infidelity is one of the grounds for divorce and can be effective in property division. Do you own a house together?" "Yes, the house is registered in both our names. The mortgage is still being paid." "You have your own business, your own income. That's good. What about custody of the children?" "Custody should stay with me. I'm their primary caregiver. Paul is mostly on business trips." I paused. Or supposedly on business trips. I guess I don't know what he was really doing half the time. Laura's expression softened slightly. I understand. Now you have two options. One, not tell Paul right now. Quietly prepare divorce papers, then present them to him. Two, confront Paul, inform him of your divorce request, then start the official process. Which do you prefer? I thought about it. Part of me wanted to confront him immediately. I wanted to see his face when he realized I knew everything. But I also needed to be smart about this. I want the second one. But let the papers be ready first. When I tell Paul, I want to have everything in hand. I want him to know I'm serious and prepared. Laura smiled approvingly. Smart. Exactly the answer I wanted. The papers will be ready in 2 weeks. Then, you tell Paul. And if it doesn't go well, I immediately step in. Thank you, Laura. One more thing, Elia. She leaned forward. During this process, take good care of yourself. Take good care of your children. Whatever Paul's reaction is, you stay strong. Because the right is on your side. When I left her office, I stood outside for a moment. Miami's hot sun warmed my face. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. Yes, the right was on my side, and I would defend that right to the end. But first, there was something else I needed to do. Paul and Jessica hadn't just betrayed me. They'd betrayed Jessica's husband, too. He deserved to know. When I got home, I opened my computer. I searched for Darren Romano on Facebook. I found him easily. He was a real estate agent. His profile picture showed him with his family. His wife, Jessica, their 2 sons. Everyone smiling. A happy family, built on lies, just like mine had been. I hesitated with my finger over the message button. Simone had advised against this. Focus on yourself and your children, she'd said. But my conscience wouldn't let me stay silent. I typed a message. Dear Mr. Romano, my name is Elia Martinez. My husband, Paul Harrington, has been in a long-term relationship with your wife, Jessica Romano. I have evidence. I wanted to give you this information. If you want to talk, please contact me. Sincerely, Elia Martinez. I attached 2 of Ricardo's photos, Paul and Jessica entering the hotel, and another of them at a restaurant holding hands. My finger hovered over the send button for a full minute. Once I did this, there was no going back. I'd be destroying another family. No, they had destroyed their families. I was just revealing the truth. I pressed send. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. A message from Darren Romano. What are you talking about? Jessica's at home, acting like nothing happened. What evidence do you have? I sent a few more photos. Paul and Jessica in the hotel lobby. Paul and Jessica in his car, kissing. His response came quickly. Damn it! Is this real? Did Jessica really do this to me? I'm sorry, Mr. Romano. I'm experiencing the same pain. If you want to talk, can we meet somewhere tomorrow? Yes. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. Starbucks, Brickell Avenue. I accepted. I'd just started a chain reaction I couldn't stop. But it felt right. We were both victims of the same 2 people. Maybe together we could figure out what to do next. The next day, after dropping the kids at school, I called Simone. I'm meeting Darren Romano today. Elia, are you sure that's a good idea? Yes. He deserves to know the truth. And maybe we can help each other through this. Okay, but be careful. He might be emotional. I met Darren at the Starbucks. He was already there, sitting in a corner looking exhausted. Medium height, dark hair, sadness etched into his eyes. When he saw me, he stood up. Elia? Yes, Darren. Yeah. He gestured for me to sit. Last night I asked Jessica about the photos you sent. She denied it at first, said you were crazy, that you were making it up because Paul was leaving you. His jaw clenched. But I showed her more photos. She finally broke down. Confessed. It's been going on for 6 months. 6 months, I echoed. Same timeline as Paul told me. Darren nodded miserably. I have children. 2 sons. How do I tell them their mother did this? I have 2 children too, a daughter and a son. I haven't told them yet either, but I'll have to soon. We sat in silence for a moment, 2 strangers bound together by betrayal. What are you planning to do? Darren finally asked. I'm getting divorced. The papers are being prepared and... I hesitated, then decided to be honest. I want everyone to know what Paul and Jessica did. I filed a complaint with their company's HR department. They work together. It's unethical. Darren's eyebrows raised. You reported them to HR? Yes. They violated company ethics policy. That's on them, not me. Darren was quiet for a moment, processing. Then slowly he nodded. You're right. They made their choices. Now they face the consequences. Can I do something similar? I mean, if you're taking action, maybe I should too. That's up to you. But Darren, we're not doing this for revenge. We're doing this because people need to face the consequences of their actions. Agreed. He looked at me with something like admiration. You're stronger than I am. No, I'm just angrier. I managed a small smile. But anger can be useful. When I got home, I opened my email and found the HR department's contact at Harrington Construction. I composed an email. Subject: Ethics Violation Complaint, Dear Human Resources. I am Elia Martinez, wife of Paul Harrington. I want to inform you that my husband Paul Harrington and your company employee Jessica Romano have been in an unethical relationship for an extended period. This relationship started and continues in the office. I have evidence, photos, detective report. I am formally complaining about this situation and expect the company to take necessary action. Respectfully, Elia Martinez. I attached several of Ricardo's photos to the email. My finger hovered over the send button. This would end Paul's career. He would lose his job, his reputation, everything. But he'd chosen this. He'd chosen Jessica. He'd chosen to risk everything. I pressed send. 2 days later, Harrington Construction's HR manager called me. Mrs. Martinez, we received your email. We're investigating the situation. If your claims are true, necessary disciplinary action will be initiated. Thank you. A week later, Paul called me. His voice was shaking with rage. Elia, did you email my company? Did you seriously report me to HR? I kept my voice calm. Yes. They've started an investigation. I could lose my job. How could you do this to me? I didn't do this to you, Paul. You did this to yourself. You violated company policy by having an affair with a coworker. I just informed them of the facts. This is vindictive. This is cruel. What about the kids? If I lose my job, how will I pay for anything? Paul, that's your problem. You should have thought about that before you started sleeping with Jessica. He was screaming now, cursing, but I hung up the phone. My hands were shaking, but I felt powerful. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had control. 2 weeks later, the inevitable happened. Paul was fired from Harrington Construction. Official reason: violation of company ethical rules. Jessica Romano was also fired. Same reason. The news spread fast through Miami's business community. Paul's former co-workers gossiped. People in our neighborhood started looking at me with a mixture of pity and respect. The woman who'd fought back. The woman who'd refused to stay silent. Laura Bennett called me. "The divorce papers are ready. Are you prepared to give them to Paul?" I looked at the papers on my desk. Official, final, the end of 21 years. "Yes," I said. "I'm ready." That evening, I asked Paul to come to the house. We needed to talk. When he arrived, he looked terrible. Thinner, unshaven, defeated. For a split second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "Sit down, Paul." He sat at our dining table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals as a family. I placed the divorce papers in front of him. "What's this?" he asked, though he knew. "Divorce papers. Sign them." His face crumbled. "Elia, please. Can't we talk about this?" "We're done talking. You had 6 months to talk to me. You chose to talk to Jessica instead." "I made a mistake." "No, Paul. You made a choice. Every single day for 6 months, you chose her. Now I'm choosing me." He picked up the pen with shaking hands. "If I sign this, we're really done." "We're already done. This just makes it official." He signed. 3 signatures. When he was finished, he looked up at me with tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Elia. I really am." "I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix this." I took the papers and showed him to the door. When it closed behind him, I leaned against it and finally let myself breathe. It was done. My marriage was over. But my life was just beginning. The week after Paul lost his job was strange and tense. He'd been calling me constantly, 20, 30 times a day. I didn't answer. Every voicemail was the same. Apologies, pleas, promises to change. I deleted them all without listening to the end. Maya and Lucas kept asking where their father was. "Another business trip," I told them, buying time. I wasn't ready yet. How do you tell your children their father is a liar? How do you explain betrayal to a 16-year-old girl and a 13-year-old boy who still believed their parents were invincible? On Friday evening, Paul showed up at the house. I saw him through the window, pacing on the front porch, rehearsing something. I watched him for a full minute before opening the door. "You can't just show up here," I said, blocking the doorway. "Elia, please. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." He looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. For a split second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "The kids are home." "I know. I want to see them." "Not today." "Elia, not today." My voice was steel. "You want to talk? Fine. Tomorrow, noon. The kids will be at Simone's. You come alone." Paul nodded, defeated. "Okay, thank you." I closed the door before he could say anything else. That night, I barely slept. I rehearsed what I would say, how I would stand my ground. Laura Bennett had advised me to keep it brief. "Don't let him manipulate you. State your terms. If he refuses to sign, we go to court. Simple." But nothing about this was simple. Saturday morning, I dropped Maya and Lucas at Simone's house. Simone pulled me aside. "You sure you want to do this alone? I can come with you." "No, this is something I need to do by myself." "Okay, but if you need me, call. I'll be there in 5 minutes." I hugged her. "Thank you. For everything. That's what best friends are for." Paul arrived exactly at noon. I had set up at the dining table. Divorce papers on one side, a folder of evidence on the other. I wanted him to see it all. The photos, the timeline, the hotel receipts Ricardo had obtained. "Sit," I said. Paul sat. His eyes fell on the photos and he flinched. Elia, I know what you're going to say. No, Paul. You don't get to talk first. Not this time. For 21 years I listened to you. I believed you. I trusted you. Now you listen to me. He closed his mouth. I took a breath, steadying myself. 6 months, Paul. 6 months you were sleeping with Jessica Romano. Every business trip, every late night at the office, every time you kissed me goodbye and told me you loved me, you were lying. It wasn't like that. Yes, it was exactly like that. I pushed the folder toward him. Dallas, the Marriott Room 412, Atlanta, the Ritz-Carlton, New York, the fucking Plaza Hotel, Paul. You took her to the plaza. His face crumbled. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. You destroyed everything we built, and not just us. Jessica is married too. She has 2 children. Did you ever think about them? Did you ever think about Maya and Lucas? Every day, he whispered. Every single day. That's why I ended it. I laughed, a bitter sound. You didn't end it. You got caught. There's a difference. Elia, please. I made a terrible mistake. I was stupid and selfish, and I hate myself for it. But I love you. I love our family. Can't we try to fix this? No. The word hung in the air between us. There's nothing to fix, Paul. You didn't break a vase. You didn't forget an anniversary. You systematically betrayed me for 6 months. You looked me in the eyes every day and lied. You had sex with me while you were having sex with her. Do you have any idea how that makes me feel? Paul's hands were shaking. I'm so sorry. I would do anything to take it back. Sign the papers. Elia. Sign the papers, Paul. It's over. He stared at the documents in front of him. What about the kids? The kids will live with me. You can see them on weekends. I'm asking for the house, child support, and alimony for 3 years. The house? Paul looked up, panicked. Elia, I just lost my job. I can't afford to buy another place. Should have thought about that before you fucked Jessica in 5-star hotels. He flinched at the profanity. I never cursed. You filed a complaint with HR, Paul said, his voice hardening. You cost me my job. You destroyed my reputation. Isn't that enough? No, it's not. Because you destroyed something too, Paul. You destroyed our marriage. You destroyed our children's sense of security. You destroyed 21 years of trust. So no, you losing your job is not enough. Paul stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. You're being vindictive. I'm being fair. Fair? You want to take my house, my kids, my money? They're not your house, your kids, your money. They're ours. Or they were, until you decided Jessica was worth more. It wasn't about worth. It was a mistake. A mistake you made over and over for 6 months. I stood too, facing him across the table. You know what the worst part is? I would have forgiven an affair. If you'd come to me after the first time, told me you'd made a mistake, I would have been devastated. But I would have tried. We could have gone to counseling. We could have worked on us. But you didn't. You kept going back to her. You chose her every single day. Paul's shoulders slumped. What do you want me to say? Nothing. I want you to sign the papers and leave. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. 21 years of history in that stare. 21 years of love and laughter and partnership, now reduced to ash. Finally, Paul picked up the pen. His hand hovered over the signature line. If I sign this, there's no going back. There's no going back anyway, Paul. This is just making it official. He signed. 3 signatures, 3 places. When he was done, he looked up at me, eyes red. I really did love you, Elia. I still do. No, you don't, because if you loved me, you never would have done this. I took the papers, walked to the door, opened it. Goodbye, Paul. He walked out without another word. When the door closed, my knees buckled. I sank to the floor, my back against the door, and finally let myself fall apart. All the composure, all the strength I'd held onto for weeks, it all crumbled. I sobbed into my hands, great heaving sobs that tore through my chest. This was real now. My marriage was over. Paul was gone. Everything I'd built, everything I'd believed in, gone. My phone rang. It was Simone. How did it go? He signed, I managed to say through my tears. Oh, honey, I'm coming over. No, I'm okay. I just need a minute. Are you sure? Yes. Can you keep the kids for a few more hours? Of course. As long as you need. When we hung up, I pulled myself together. I washed my face, changed my clothes, made myself a cup of tea. By the time Maya and Lucas came home that evening, I was ready. Kids, sit down. We need to talk. Something in my tone made them obey immediately. They sat on the couch, exchanging worried glances. Is Dad okay? Lucas asked. Your father and I are getting divorced. The words dropped like a bomb. Maya's face went pale. Lucas's eyes widened. What? Why? Maya's voice was shrill. I had practiced this. I'd written it down, rehearsed it with Laura, role-played it with Simone. But now, looking at my children's shocked faces, all the preparation felt useless. Your father had a relationship with someone else, another woman. I found out, and I can't stay married to him anymore. Who? Maya demanded. Who was it? It doesn't matter who. Yes, it does. Who was Dad cheating with? I hesitated. A woman from his office. Jessica Romano. Maya gasped. The marketing director. I met her at the Christmas party. She seemed so nice. People aren't always what they seem. Lucas hadn't said a word. He sat frozen, staring at his hands. Lucas? I touched his shoulder. Talk to me, honey. How long? His voice was barely a whisper. What? How long was Dad cheating? 6 months. 6 months? Lucas looked up and I saw tears streaming down his face. He lied to us for 6 months? He lied to all of us. I hate him, Maya said suddenly. I hate him so much. Maya. No, Mom. He ruined everything. Our family. Our home. How could he do this to you? To us? I pulled both children into a hug. Maya was crying now too, angry tears. Lucas just trembled silently. Listen to me, I said firmly. What your father did was wrong. Very wrong. But he's still your father. He loves you both very much. This isn't about you. You didn't do anything wrong. This is between me and him. Where will we live? Lucas asked. Here. We're staying in this house. Your father will live somewhere else. You'll see him on weekends if you want to. I don't want to see him, Maya said. You might feel differently later. That's okay. There's no rush. We sat together for a long time, the three of us tangled on the couch. Eventually, Maya and Lucas went to their rooms. I heard Maya's door slam, heard Lucas's quiet crying through the wall. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to take their pain away. But I couldn't. This was something we all had to go through. The next few days were brutal. Maya refused to talk to Paul when he called. Lucas would answer but only give one-word responses. Paul begged me to let him explain to them, but I refused. You want to explain? Fine. Come over on Saturday. Tell them whatever you want. But I won't protect you from their anger. Saturday came. Paul arrived at 3 o'clock, looking even worse than before. Maya and Lucas were waiting in the living room, arms crossed, faces closed off. I sat in the kitchen, giving them privacy but close enough to hear. "I'm sorry," Paul began. "I know those words aren't enough. I know I hurt you both. I hurt your mother. I made terrible choices, and I will regret them for the rest of my life." "Why?" Maya's voice was cold. "Why did you do it?" "I don't have a good answer. I was lonely, I was stupid, I was selfish. None of those are excuses, they're just the truth." "Were you lonely when you took us to Disney World last year?" Maya asked. "When we were all having dinner and laughing and you were holding Mom's hand? Were you lonely then? Because that was after you started sleeping with that woman." "Maya, don't Maya me. You're a liar. You lied to us every single day. You said you loved Mom. You said family was the most important thing. But it was all bullshit." "Watch your language," Paul said automatically. "Fuck you!" Maya screamed. "You don't get to tell me what to do anymore." She ran upstairs. A door slammed. Paul looked at Lucas. "Son, don't call me that." Lucas's voice was quiet but deadly. "You're not my dad anymore." "Lucas, please." "Get out. Just get out." Lucas followed his sister upstairs. Paul sat alone in the living room, his head in his hands. I walked in. "You should go." "I'm losing them." "Yes, you are. Help me, Elia, please. Tell them I love them." "I'm not going to lie for you, Paul. Not anymore." That night I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed, a text from Darren Romano. "Jessica moved out today. Took the kids. My lawyer says it's going to be ugly. How are you holding up?" I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "Same here. But we're survivors. We'll get through this." "Coffee sometime. Might help to talk to someone who understands." "Yes, I'd like that." I put the phone down and closed my eyes. Tomorrow, I would be strong again. Tomorrow, I would keep fighting. Tomorrow, I would build a new life. But tonight, I let myself be sad. I let myself mourn the man I thought I'd married, the life I thought I'd had, the future I thought was guaranteed. And when the sun rose the next morning, I got up, showered, dressed, and faced the world with my head held high. Because if Paul had taught me anything, it was this. I was stronger than I ever knew. And I was just getting started. A week later, the gossip machine of Miami's business community was in full swing. Everyone knew about Paul Harrington and Jessica Romano. The affair, the firing, the divorces. It was the scandal of the season. My phone was flooded with messages. Old friends checking in, acquaintances expressing sympathy. Some people I barely knew offering their support. A few, the ones I immediately blocked, asking for details with barely concealed glee. But most were kind. Most were supportive. And a few shared their own stories of betrayal and survival. One message stood out. It was from Clara Mendez, the gallery owner who'd exhibited my paintings. "Elia, I've been following your story. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. But I want you to know, your strength is inspiring. Have you thought about channeling this into your art? Pain creates powerful work. Think about it. My door is always open." I read the message 3 times. Art. I hadn't painted since before I discovered Paul's affair. My brushes sat untouched in the garage studio, gathering dust. But maybe Clara was right. Maybe I needed to paint this, get it out, transform the pain into something beautiful, something lasting. That evening, after the kids were asleep, I went to my studio. I stood in front of a blank canvas for a long time, just breathing, just feeling. Then I picked up a brush. And I began. The painting took 3 nights to complete. I worked in a fever, barely sleeping, barely eating. The canvas became a storm of reds and blacks, a woman's silhouette breaking through chains, pieces of a shattered heart scattered like shrapnel around her. When I stepped back and looked at it, really looked at it, I saw my own face in those abstract strokes. Pain transformed into power. Victim becoming victor. Simone came over on Thursday morning, took one look at the painting and whispered, "Holy shit, Elia. That's incredible." "You think?" "I think you need to show this to Clara immediately. And I think—" Simone paused, choosing her words carefully. "I think you need to tell your story. The real story. Not just to me, not just to your lawyer, to everyone." "What do you mean?" "Social media, a blog, something. Because what happened to you is happening to thousands of women right now, and they need to know they're not alone. That they can survive this." I shook my head. "I can't. That's too public. The kids—" "The kids already know. Maya's already told half her class. Lucas's friends are asking questions. The story's out there, Elia. You might as well control the narrative." That night, after Maya and Lucas were asleep, I sat at my laptop. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time before I started typing. I opened Twitter and created a new account. Betrayed in Miami, no profile picture. No real name, just a bio. 40-year-old mother, 21-year marriage, 6-month affair. This is my story. And then I began to write, betrayed in Miami. I found out my husband was cheating when he accidentally sent me a text meant for his mistress. "Same place. Tuesday at 8. I missed you, baby." 6 words that destroyed 21 years of marriage. This is my story. Betrayal. Infidelity. Miami. I stared at the tweet for 5 minutes before hitting send. Then I kept writing. Betrayed in Miami. People ask, how did you not know? I did know. Deep down, the late nights, the business trips, the password on his phone. But I trusted him. I chose to trust him, because that's what marriage is supposed to be. Thread. Betrayed in Miami. I hired a private investigator. Watched him through photos meeting her. A woman from his office, married, 2 kids, just like me. They went to hotels, expensive ones. My husband took his mistress to the plaza in New York while I was home with our children. Betrayed in Miami. When I confronted him, he cried, said it was a mistake. 6 months of mistakes. 6 months of lying to my face. 6 months of kissing me goodnight, then texting her. You don't accidentally fall into someone's bed for half a year. Betrayed in Miami. I filed a complaint with his company. They were both married employees having an affair at work, against ethics policy. They both got fired. People say I went too far. I say actions have consequences. No regrets if I betrayed in Miami. My daughter screamed at him. My son won't talk to him. He destroyed our family for 6 months of passion with a woman who meant nothing. And now he's alone, jobless, while I'm still standing, still fighting, still here. Betrayed in Miami. To every woman going through this, you are not crazy. You are not paranoid. Trust your gut. Document everything. Hire a lawyer. And when you're ready, take your power back. You deserve better than lies. Survivors unite. Betrayed in Miami. This isn't about revenge. This is about justice. This is about refusing to be silent. This is about showing my children that you don't stay with someone who betrays you, no matter how many years you've invested. Self-respect sunk cost fallacy. I hit send on the last tweet and closed the laptop. My hands were shaking. What had I just done? The next morning, I woke up to 847 notifications. My thread had gone viral. Thousands of retweets, hundreds of comments, women sharing their own stories, men apologizing on behalf of cheaters everywhere. Some people criticized me for being vindictive. Most praised my courage. One comment stopped me cold. I know who this is. Paul Harrington and Jessica Romano from Harrington Construction. Everyone in Miami real estate knows. Good for you for exposing them. My stomach dropped. People knew. They'd figured it out. Within hours, the story was everywhere. A local Miami blog picked it up. Anonymous woman's viral Twitter thread exposes Miami construction exec's affair. Then a news site, then another. By noon, my phone was ringing off the hook. Reporters asking for interviews, friends texting their support. And Paul was furious. "What the fuck did you do?" His voice was screaming through the phone. "Everyone knows. My name is out there. You destroyed me." "No, Paul. You destroyed yourself. I just told the truth." "You had no right." "I had every right. You made our marriage public when you paraded your mistress around Miami for 6 months. I'm just making the consequences public, too." "I'm going to sue you for defamation." "Go ahead. Everything I said is true. Truth is an absolute defense. Ask your lawyer." I hung up. Laura Bennett called 5 minutes later. "Elia, what the hell? I have Paul's attorney threatening a lawsuit." "Can he sue me?" "For what? You didn't use his name. You stated facts, and truth is a defense against defamation. He has no case. But Elia, this changes things. This makes the divorce more complicated." "I don't care. I'm done hiding. I'm done protecting him." Laura sighed. "Okay. Then we prepare for war. Because Paul is going to fight dirty now." That afternoon, Darren Romano called. "Elia, it's Darren. I just saw the Twitter thread. That's you, isn't it?" "Yes." "Jesus, you're brave. Jessica's losing her mind. She called me screaming about how you're ruining her reputation." "Her reputation ruined itself when she slept with a married man?" "Fair point." Darren laughed, bitter. "Listen, can we meet? I think we should talk strategy. If you're going public, maybe I should too. Jessica needs to face consequences just like Paul." We met at a cafe in Coconut Grove. Darren looked better than the last time I'd seen him. Cleaner, more focused. Angry, but in a productive way. "I want to support what you're doing," he said. "Jessica's playing the victim, telling people you're a vindictive ex-wife, that Paul was unhappy, that you drove him away." My jaw clenched. "That's bullshit." "I know. So let's set the record straight. Together. I'll make my own statement. Tell my side. Show that there are 4 people hurt by this, not just 2. "You do that?" "Hell yes. Jessica doesn't get to control this narrative. She cheated. She lied. She destroyed 2 families. People need to know." That evening, Darren created his own Twitter account. As Darren Speaks Truth. His first tweet was simple but devastating. Darren Speaks Truth. My wife, Jessica Romano, had an affair with Paul Harrington. I'm the father of 2 young boys who now have to understand why Mommy doesn't live with us anymore. Infidelity doesn't just hurt spouses. It destroys children. Betrayed in Miami isn't alone. I stand with her. The tweet got 15,000 retweets in 3 hours. The backlash against Paul and Jessica was swift and brutal. Former colleagues posted messages of support for me and Darren. Business contacts distanced themselves from Paul. Jessica's social media went dark. She deleted everything. Paul's attorney sent a cease and desist letter. I forwarded it to Laura, who responded with a letter of her own. "Our client has exercised her First Amendment right to free speech. If your client wishes to dispute any facts, he is welcome to sue for defamation, knowing that truth is an absolute defense and discovery will make public all evidence of his infidelity, including hotel receipts, text messages, and testimony from witnesses. We welcome this opportunity. The lawsuit threat disappeared, but the damage was done. Paul's name was mud in Miami's business community. No one would hire him. Jessica had moved to Orlando, reportedly to start fresh. Darren had full custody of their boys. Paul was living in a studio apartment in a bad part of town. Maya found the Twitter account one night. "Mom, is this you? Her betrayed in Miami?" I considered lying, then decided against it. "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't want you to worry, or feel like you had to defend me." Maya sat down next to me. "Mom, everyone at school knows. They're all talking about it. Some people are saying mean things about you." "What are they saying?" "That you're bitter. That you're airing your dirty laundry for attention. That you should have handled it privately." I felt a stab of shame. "Do you think that?" Maya was quiet for a long moment. "No, I think you're telling the truth. And I think Dad deserves everything he's getting. I'm proud of you, Mom. You're not letting him get away with it." Tears sprang to my eyes. "Thank you, baby." "But, Mom, some of the girls at school, their parents are divorced too, because of cheating. And they said your tweets helped their moms feel less alone. So, I think you did the right thing." That weekend, a journalist from the Miami Herald reached out for an interview. I declined. But the journalist wrote a piece anyway. The Betrayed in Miami Phenomenon. Why one woman's story resonated with millions. The article quoted therapists, divorce attorneys, and survivors of infidelity. It analyzed the public's response, why the thread went viral, why it struck such a nerve. One quote stood out. "For decades, women have been told to suffer in silence, to protect their marriages, their families, their husbands' reputations. But social media has changed that. Now women can speak out. They can find community. They can refuse to be complicit in their own erasure." Betrayed in Miami represents a cultural shift from shame to empowerment. I read the article 3 times. Was that what I'd done? Shifted culture? It felt too big, too important. I was just a woman who got cheated on, who got angry, who refused to stay quiet. But maybe that was enough. 2 weeks after the viral thread, Clara Mendez called. "Elia, I have a proposition. The art collective wants to do a show. Art from Trauma. Women's stories. They want you to be featured. 6 paintings. Opening in 2 months. What do you say?" I don't know if I have 6 paintings." "Then start painting. Channel everything you're feeling. The betrayal, the anger, the healing. Whatever's inside you, put it on canvas. This is your moment, Elia. Don't waste it." That night, I went to my studio and stared at the blank canvases. 6 paintings. 2 months. I picked up a brush. And I began. The first painting, a woman's hands breaking chains. The second, a shattered mirror reflecting multiple versions of the same face. The third, a phoenix rising from ashes. The fourth, 2 children standing in the ruins of a house. The fifth, a man's shadow growing smaller in the distance. The sixth, a woman standing alone on a beach at sunrise, her face turned toward the light. I painted like a woman possessed. Every free moment. Before the kids woke up, after they went to bed, on weekends while they were at friends' houses. The paintings poured out of me, raw, visceral, unflinching. When Clara came to see the completed works, she was speechless. "Elia, These are museum quality. This is your voice, your truth. People need to see this. The exhibition was titled The Price of the Heart, One Woman's Journey from Betrayal to Rebirth. The opening was scheduled for October 15th. Invitations went out, press releases were sent, social media buzzed with anticipation. And I, the woman who'd been betrayed, who'd been broken, who'd been left behind, I was about to become something else entirely. I was about to become an artist. But first, I had to survive the court battle, because Paul wasn't done fighting, and neither was I. On October 1st, 2 weeks before the exhibition, I received a notice from the court. Paul was contesting the divorce settlement. He wanted joint custody. He wanted half the house. He wanted to reduce child support payments, claiming financial hardship. Laura called immediately. He's trying to bleed you dry. This is a pressure tactic. He knows you're gaining momentum, so he's fighting back. What do? We go to court. We present our evidence. We show the judge that Paul is an unfit parent who abandoned his family for an affair, lost his job due to ethical violations, and is now trying to manipulate the system to avoid responsibility. When? Hearing is set for October 20th, 5 days after your exhibition. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Of course it is. Can you handle both? I thought about everything I'd been through. The discovery, the betrayal, the confrontation, the viral thread, the paintings, the rebuilding. Yes, I said firmly. I can handle both. Because I wasn't the same woman Paul had married. I wasn't even the same woman who'd hired Ricardo Morales 2 months ago. I was Elia Martinez, survivor, artist, mother, fighter. And I was done being anyone's victim. October 15th arrived with typical Miami weather. Hot, humid, with storm clouds threatening in the distance. I stood in front of the gallery mirror, adjusting my black dress for the 10th time. Simple, elegant, professional. I wanted the art to speak, not my outfit. Mom, you look beautiful. Maya appeared in the doorway, wearing the navy dress we'd picked out together. You think? Not too severe? You're an artist at her own exhibition. You're supposed to look severe and mysterious. Maya grinned. Besides, when Dad sees these paintings, severe is exactly the right vibe. Your father's not coming. Good. He doesn't deserve to see how amazing you are. Lucas poked his head in. Are we leaving soon? Simone says there's already a line outside the gallery. A line? My stomach flipped. How long? She sent a picture, like 30 people. I grabbed my phone. Simone had indeed sent a photo. Dozens of people waiting outside the art collective gallery, chatting excitedly, checking their phones. I could see phones pointed at the door, Instagram stories being filmed. My hands trembled slightly. This was real. This was happening. Okay, let's go. The gallery was transformed. Clara had outdone herself. Soft lighting, white walls, and my 6 paintings displayed in a careful sequence that told the story from devastation to rebirth. Each painting had a small plaque with just the title. No explanations needed. Breaking Chains, Fractured Self, Rising, Ruins of Home, Fading Shadow, Dawn. People were already inside when I arrived. Critics, collectors, local artists, journalists, and women. So many women. Some came alone, some in groups, some with supportive partners. They stood in front of the paintings with tears in their eyes, whispering to each other, nodding in recognition. Clara grabbed my arm. They're here for you, all of them. This is what art is supposed to do. Make people feel seen. A woman approached, maybe 50, well-dressed, mascara slightly smeared. "Are you Elia, the artist?" "Yes. I just wanted to say thank you. I've been divorced for 3 years. Infidelity. And I still felt like I did something wrong, like I should have tried harder. But your paintings..." She gestured at breaking chains. "That's exactly how it feels. Like you're trapped until you're not. Like one day you just break free. Thank you for showing that." My eyes welled up. "Thank you for being here." More people came. More stories. A man whose wife left him for his brother. A young woman whose fiancé cheated 3 weeks before the wedding. A couple who'd survived an affair and come out stronger. Each one saw something different in the paintings, but they all saw themselves. A reporter from the Miami Herald asked for an interview. "Ms. Martinez, your Twitter thread went viral, and now this exhibition. Some are calling you the voice of betrayed spouses everywhere. How does that feel?" Overwhelming. I didn't set out to be anyone's voice. I just refused to be silent about what happened to me. "Your ex-husband, Paul Harrington, has been notably absent from public life since the scandal. Have you spoken to him?" "We communicate through lawyers. That's all I'll say about that." "There's a court hearing scheduled for this week regarding custody and property division. Are you prepared for that battle?" I met the reporter's eyes. "I've been preparing for 2 months. I'm ready." By the end of the evening, 3 paintings had sold. 3. At $15,000 each. I stared at the red sold dots in disbelief. "Who bought them?" I asked Clara. "A collector from New York bought Rising. A law firm downtown bought Breaking Chains for their lobby. Said it represents fighting for justice. And Dawn went to a women's shelter in Palm Beach. They said it'll inspire the residents." I had to sit down. "A women's shelter?" "The director called personally. Said your story helped her leave her own abusive marriage. She wanted something to remind the women there that there's life after trauma." I couldn't speak. I just nodded, tears streaming down my face. Simone found me in the back room, handed me a glass of wine. "You did it. You actually did it. I didn't think anyone would come." "Elia, there were over 200 people here tonight. The gallery's Instagram post has 10,000 likes. You're trending on Twitter again. You're not just surviving anymore. You're thriving." Maya and Lucas appeared, both grinning. "Mom, they want you to sign stuff. Like actual autographs." Lucas looked amazed. "And someone asked if you take commissions," Maya added. "I told them to email the gallery." I laughed through my tears. "When did you become my manager?" "When you became famous." That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine and my phone. The Betrayed in Miami account had exploded again. Thousands of new followers, hundreds of messages congratulating me on the exhibition. One message stood out, from Darren Romano. "Saw the photos of your exhibition. Wish I could have been there. Coffee tomorrow? I could use a friend who understands all this. And maybe I'd like to be more than just a fellow survivor to you." I read the message 3 times. More than a fellow survivor. What did that mean? I typed back, "Coffee sounds good. 10 a.m. at the usual place?" His response was immediate. "Perfect. See you then." I set the phone down and stared at the Miami skyline. Was I ready for something new? Was it too soon? Paul had only been gone 3 months. The divorce wasn't even final yet. But maybe that was the point. Maybe healing didn't mean waiting. Maybe it meant choosing to move forward when you were ready, not when some arbitrary timeline said it was okay. I'd decide tomorrow. Tonight, I just enjoy the victory. October 20th arrived too quickly. I dressed in a charcoal suit, armor for battle. Laura Bennett had prepared me extensively. Paul's going to argue financial hardship. He'll say losing his job means he can't afford child support or the house buyout. His lawyer will paint him as the victim of your vindictive campaign. And our response? Paul lost his job because he violated company ethics policy by having an affair with a coworker. That's a consequence of his choices, not your actions. And regarding custody, we have testimony from Maya and Lucas's therapist that they're thriving in your care and have specifically requested minimal contact with their father. Will they have to testify? I hope not, but if the judge asks to hear from them, yes. My stomach churned. I don't want them to have to do that. I know. We'll do everything we can to avoid it. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, hard benches. Paul was already there with his attorney, a sharp-faced man named Robert Chen. Paul looked thinner, older, defeated. When he saw me, something flickered in his eyes. Anger, sadness, maybe regret. I looked away. Judge Andrea Morrison entered. Late 50s, stern expression, reputation for no-nonsense rulings. My research had shown she was fair but tough. Case number 2024, DR 8847, Martinez versus Harrington. Custody and property division dispute. Counsel, opening statements. Robert Chen stood first. Your Honor, my client Paul Harrington is a dedicated father who's been unfairly vilified by his ex-wife's social media campaign. Yes, he made a mistake. A personal mistake that should have remained private. Instead, Mrs. Martinez weaponized social media to destroy his career, his reputation, and his ability to provide for his children. He's now unemployed, struggling to make ends meet. Yet she's asking for full custody and the majority of marital assets. This is punishment, not justice. Laura stood. Your Honor, Mr. Harrington's unemployment is a direct result of his own choices. He violated his employer's ethics policy by engaging in an extramarital affair with a subordinate employee. Mrs. Martinez merely informed HR of policy violations. She didn't fire him. The company did. As for custody, Mrs. Martinez has been the primary caregiver throughout the marriage. She maintained the home, raised the children, and built her own successful business, while Mr. Harrington traveled frequently. The children have stated clearly, on record with their therapist, that they wish to remain primarily with their mother. Judge Morrison made a note. I've reviewed the therapist's report. Both children expressed strong preference for mother's custody, with limited father visitation. Mr. Chen, does your client dispute that? Your Honor, the children are understandably upset by the divorce. But that doesn't mean their father should be cut out of their lives. No one's suggesting that. But their preferences matter, especially at ages 13 and 16. Continue, Ms. Bennett. Laura presented the evidence methodically. The detective's report, the hotel receipts, the text messages, the timeline showing Paul's lies and Jessica's complicity, the HR documentation of the ethics violation, financial records showing my consistent contributions to the household. Robert Chen tried to paint Paul as remorseful, reformed, deserving of second chances. But every time he spoke, Laura countered with documentation. Your Honor, Mr. Harrington claims financial hardship, yet he's been collecting unemployment benefits and recently interviewed for a position at a competing construction firm. This isn't hardship. This is an attempt to avoid responsibility. Is that true, Mr. Harrington? Judge Morrison asked. Paul stood. I have job prospects, yes, but nothing's guaranteed. So you do have income potential. Noted. Sit down. The hearing lasted 4 hours. Testimony from the therapist. Financial expert analysis. Character witnesses. Simone spoke for me, describing my strength and dedication. Paul's brother spoke for him, claiming I had always been cold and controlling. Laura destroyed that testimony in cross-examination. Mr. Harrington, when's the last time you visited your brother's home? Maybe 2 years ago? So you're basing your assessment of Mrs. Martinez as cold and controlling on limited observations from 2 years ago. Well, that's what Paul told me. So you're repeating hearsay from your brother who's been proven to be a habitual liar. No further questions. Finally, Judge Morrison called a recess. I'll review all evidence and issue my ruling in 1 hour. That hour was torture. I sat in the hallway with Laura and Simone, unable to eat, unable to focus. Maya and Lucas were at school, thank God. They didn't need to see this. Paul paced at the other end of the hall, his attorney whispering urgently. At 3:47 p.m., we were called back in. Judge Morrison didn't waste time. I've reviewed all evidence and testimony. This is my ruling. First, custody. The children have expressed clear preference for residing primarily with their mother. The therapist confirms they're thriving in Mrs. Martinez's care. Mr. Harrington will have visitation every other weekend and alternating holidays, pending the children's willingness to participate. As they're 13 and 16, I will not force visitation if they're uncomfortable. Second, the marital home. Mrs. Martinez has been making mortgage payments consistently and has the means to continue. The home will be awarded to Mrs. Martinez with Mr. Harrington's equity to be bought out over 3 years at court-assessed value. Third, child support. Mr. Harrington will pay $12,500 per month per child, totaling $5,000 monthly, regardless of employment status. Failure to pay will result in wage garnishment. Fourth, alimony. Given that Mr. Harrington's unemployment is a direct result of his ethical violations at work, and Mrs. Martinez has her own income, no alimony will be awarded to either party. This court finds that Mr. Harrington's actions, the infidelity, the ethics violations, the subsequent unemployment, are the direct cause of this family's dissolution. Mrs. Martinez has acted appropriately in protecting herself and her children. Mr. Harrington's social media complaints about being victimized are unfounded. Divorce is granted. Final. Any questions? Silence. Court adjourned. The gavel came down. I couldn't breathe. I'd won. Everything. The house, the kids, child support, everything. Laura grabbed my hand. You did it. I did it, I whispered. Across the courtroom, Paul was arguing with his attorney, his face red, his voice rising. Robert Chen was shaking his head, gathering papers. It was over. Outside the courthouse, news cameras were waiting. Apparently, someone had tipped them off about the betrayed in Miami hearing. Mrs. Martinez, how do you feel about the ruling? Did you get everything you asked for? What's next for you? Laura stepped forward. My client is pleased with the court's fair ruling. She looks forward to focusing on her children and her art career. No further comment. We pushed through to the parking lot. When we were finally alone in Laura's car, I started laughing. Not polite laughter. Full body, gasping, slightly hysterical laughter. I won, I said between gasps. I actually won. You did. Full custody. The house, child support. Paul got visitation and debt. That's the definition of winning. He looked so angry. He was. Good. Maybe now he'll understand that actions have consequences. I pulled out my phone to text Maya and Lucas the news. Before I could, a message appeared from Darren. Just saw the news coverage. Congratulations. You deserve everything good that's coming your way. Still on for coffee tomorrow. I smiled and typed back, definitely. And Darren, thank you for everything. Thank you for showing me what strength looks like. See you tomorrow. That night, I gathered Maya and Lucas in the living room. The judge ruled. Full custody stays with me. This house stays ours. Your dad has to pay child support. We're going to be okay. Maya burst into tears and hugged me. We're really staying here? In our home? Yes, baby, this is our home. Forever. Lucas was quieter. Does Dad have to leave Miami? I don't know what he'll do, but he'll visit every other weekend if you want to see him. Do we have to? No. The judge said it's up to you. Lucas nodded slowly. Maybe sometimes. Not every time. Is that okay? That's perfectly okay. We sat together on the couch. The three of us, the survivors, the fighters, the family that refused to break. Later, after the kids were asleep, I walked through my house. My house. I touched the walls, the furniture, the photos of Maya and Lucas at different ages. This was mine. I'd fought for it. I'd earned it. In my studio, the remaining 3 unsold paintings leaned against the wall. Clara had already asked about a follow-up exhibition. People want more. They want to see where you go from here. Where did I go from here? Forward, I supposed. Toward art. Toward healing. Toward whatever came next. Maybe toward Darren Romano, who understood loss and survival in ways no one else could. Maybe toward forgiveness. Not of Paul, but of myself. For not seeing sooner. For staying as long as I did. For all the small compromises that had led to that moment when I found the text. But mostly toward freedom. I was 40 years old. Divorced. Single mother. Artist. Survivor. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt like myself. Not Paul's wife. Not Maya and Lucas's mother. Just Elia. And Elia was enough.